Greetings to courageous learners. In this module, we will revise the very first chapter of The Footprints Without Feet, A Triumph of Surgery. It is written by James Harriet and the chapter is written in first person. Through this picture, we can imagine how does Pumphrey looks. She is Mrs. Pumphrey. It's her dog Tricky and he is Dr. James Harriet. Mrs. Pumphrey meets Dr. James Harriet, a veterinary surgeon. The surgeon gets really shocked to see the excessively fat dog Tricky, with bloodshot and rheumy eyes, walking with his owner in the street. Looking at this, when Mrs. Pumphrey was asked about this, through the gestures of Dr. James Harriet, Mrs. Pumphrey, the owner of the dog, claims that Tricky is listless. It is an outcome of malnutrition. Mrs. Pumphrey is under this impression that Tricky is weak. That's why she keeps on feeding him. She overfeeds him with malt, cod liver oil, a bowl of Horlicks at night to make him sleep well. In addition to this, she serves him cream cakes and chocolates, in spite of the vet's advice to cut down on the dog's sweet intake. The vet knows the real problem with the dog is his greed, and he is not given adequate physical exercise is another reason. Due to less exercise, due to less games and more feeding, it makes Tricky ill. He's seriously ill, he stops eating. He lies panting all the time on the rug with intermittent bouts of vomiting. Looking at this condition, the master, the owner of the dog, Tricky, rings up Dr. James Harriet. And James Harriet has a plan. When he looks at Tricky's condition, he estimated the situation and is ready with a plan. He gets Tricky away from his owner. He encourages Mrs. Pumphrey to take Tricky to the surgery for a fortnight in order to cure him. Mrs. Pumphrey's reaction. When the dog is being taken to the surgery, this makes her worried. She keeps on wailing. She is certain that Tricky would miss her and not be able to bear such a long separation. Besides this, the entire staff and maids rush in and out, bringing his daybed, nightbed, bowls for different servings, favorite cushions, toys, and rubber rings. So these many things were there with the dog. It's his possession. It's paraphernalia, we say, various kinds of things, miscellaneous things that he had to use. Such a luxurious life the dog is enjoying. At the surgery, when they reach the surgery, doctor with Tricky, the other dogs sniff the listless Tricky and find him to be an uninteresting object. The doctor makes a comfy bed for Tricky and places him in a loose box next to where other dogs used to sleep. So this shows that whatever comfortable cushions were sent for Tricky to the surgery, those were not used. For 2 days, he does not give him any food but plenty of water. Third day, he starts making a feeble sound in response to the dogs in the yard. Who? Tricky. This is on third day. For 2 days, he is not given anything but plenty of water. Later on, the third day, Tricky walks up to the shining bowls and casually licks into a couple of them. So this shows that he feels hungry. From the fourth day, an extra bowl is kept, Tricky jostling towards the bowl. Jostling towards the bowl, and then when the doctor notices this makes him happy. He starts taking interest in playing with other dogs, fighting for food, and hunts for rats. So, somewhere he was just in normalcy of his life, and he was behaving in the same way the way dogs should behave. Convalescing means recovering from illness. When Mrs. Pumphrey listened to this word that Tricky is recovering, she starts sending eggs, wine, and brandy for his better belt, wine for his blood. So these eatables enriches writer's food, and he wants to keep Tricky as a permanent guest. But after a fortnight, as he promised, he calls up Mrs. Pumphrey. She comes to collect Tricky. She is Mrs. Pumphrey, Tricky, and Doctor. A triumph of surgery. The doctor fetches the cured dog, who is now an agile, muscular, and smart animal. Earlier, it was a blotted sausage with bloodshot and rheumy eyes, tongue lolled, but now it is agile, muscular, and smart animal. Tricky surprises his owner by rushing through the chauffeur's open door, licking her face and barking out of sheer happiness. Mrs. Pumphrey thanks the doctor and drives away with tears of joy. Thinking that surgery saved her dog's life, she calls it a triumph of surgery. This chapter shows great faith of Mrs. Pumphrey that surgery had taken place, because only surgery in such kind of ailments for fast recovery, usually surgery brings such kind of results. That's why she was under this impression that surgery had taken place, and this revived Tricky the dog. Though the reality is different. He was kept by James Harriet on strict diet, regular exercise, and disciplined routine. This made him fit and fine and smart animal. So, this is the reason Mrs. Pumphrey calls it a triumph of surgery. She takes it as a surgery in the way operation. And a triumph of surgery here means surgery means a place where ill people or animals are treated, that place. So that is also a triumph of surgery, because without any surgery the patient recovered. I hope you understood this chapter in this revision class properly. In case you have doubt, you can ask on personal platform, and one quiz link is sent to you. You attend that quiz and see your score. Thank you.